Is there actually any evidence for the Exodus? How might we respond to the claim that we frequently hear that there's no evidence for the Exodus?
They say the sea guards its secrets, but what if one is on the verge of being uncovered? Not too long ago, a group of elite divers set out to explore these depths, not in search of treasure or fame, but to solve a mystery that's been buried for nearly 3,000 years. They weren't chasing tales of lost cities or sunken ships, but a story from the book of Exodus. A story that many know by heart: Moses parting the waters, and Pharaoh's army being swallowed by the sea. For centuries, this has been dismissed as myth or metaphor, a powerful tale with no evidence. But what if that's about to change? What the divers discovered could be more than just coral and sand. It might be the remains of a forgotten battlefield, a miraculous event frozen in time beneath the waves. If verified, this could challenge everything we know about history, science, and faith. This isn't just an ordinary dive. It's a journey into mystery, scripture, and the boundaries of the impossible. The dive began without fanfare. No press, no formal announcements, no applause. Late in 2024, along the quiet coastline near Nueva Beach on the Gulf of Aqaba, a team of divers entered the water at the break of dawn. But these weren't just any divers. Among them were former Navy SEALs, marine engineers, and underwater archaeology experts. Their mission was meticulous, their aim clear: to either confirm or debunk one of the most hotly debated events in history. Armed with cutting-edge technology, high-resolution sonar, AI-driven deep-sea drones, multi-spectrum sediment scanners, they set out to map the seafloor like never before. They weren't simply searching for shapes. They were hunting for patterns, anomalies, and the echoes of a long-forgotten war lying dormant beneath the surface. But the journey to this mission was far from straightforward. Even before they entered the water, the expedition faced intense opposition. Several governments issued stern warnings, citing safety concerns, legal issues, and the need to preserve cultural heritage. University departments dismissed the team's efforts as pseudoscience. Officials from both Egypt and Israel reportedly advised them against moving forward, citing diplomatic concerns. Yet something pushed the mission onward. That something was a blend of faith and financial backing. Quietly, a group of wealthy private investors stepped in. These weren't just ordinary backers, they were believers, individuals motivated not by academic recognition, but by a deep sense of divine purpose. And so, the expedition was quietly set into motion, conducted under the radar. But as with all secrets, whispers eventually surface. When a photo leaked, showing the team assembling submersibles adorned with cryptic Hebrew inscriptions, the internet exploded. Back to where the Pharaoh fell, one caption read. Within days, the phrase spread like wildfire. Forums, prophecy websites, and YouTube conspiracy channels were abuzz with speculation. Was someone finally about to prove that the story of the Exodus was more than a mere legend? The world didn't yet know it, but the depths were stirring. The Exodus and the mystery of the Bible. To fully grasp the significance of what might have been uncovered, we must journey back not just to 2024, but to the dawn of civilization. The Exodus, the moment when Moses, armed with nothing but a staff and a divine command, led his people out of Egypt's bondage. The Hebrew Bible recounts how the Israelites fled through the wilderness, only to be trapped at the edge of the Red Sea, with Pharaoh's army closing in. With no escape in sight, the scripture tells us that the waters parted and the children of Israel walked across the sea on dry ground. Exodus 14-21 through 22. As Pharaoh's chariots thundered after them, the sea collapsed, drowning the pursuing forces. This event is foundational to Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, a moment of divine intervention, liberation, and judgment. For generations, skeptics have demanded, where is the proof? Archaeologists scoured the Sinai Peninsula, but found no trace of Hebrew camps, no artifacts, and certainly no chariots. Some scholars suggested the Red Sea was a mistranslation, perhaps referring to a shallow sea of reeds, barely waist deep. Others speculated the crossing took place at the Gulf of Suez, but none of these theories ever truly captured the grandeur of the biblical narrative. Then came an alternative location, the Gulf of Aqaba, near modern-day Nuweiba. This theory wasn't hatched in a laboratory or academic hall. It emerged from explorers, Bible researchers, and map analysts. What they discovered was staggering: an underwater land bridge linking the shores of Egypt and Arabia. It was wide, smooth, and flat enough to allow a massive migration, men, women, children, and livestock to cross. And beneath these waters, ancient remnants of warriors may still lie. Could this be the true crossing site? Was the miracle more than just allegory? What was once a theory dismissed or ridiculed suddenly gained new life as the 2024 divers, armed with unprecedented technology, made their way to the coordinates, long believed to hold a secret buried for 3,000 years. Ron Wyatt, the controversial pioneer. Long before sonar scans and AI-driven drones, there was one man with nothing but a Bible, a compass, and an unwavering conviction. Ron Wyatt wasn't a university-trained archaeologist. He was a nurse anesthetist from Tennessee, a quiet man whose faith compelled him to venture into the deserts and seas of the Middle East. To the academic world, he was little more than a fringe enthusiast, dismissed as a modern-day treasure hunter. Yet to others, he was a trailblazer, a man brave enough to follow the literal words of Scripture, no matter where they led.
And my guest today is a man who has discovered what now is believed even by the Turkish government over in near Mount Ararat is the Ark. And we have a little model here of it that Ron Wyatt brought. He has been called the Indiana Jones of modern day.
But anyway, we have had some adventures.
In 1978, Wyatt made his first dive into the Red Sea. What he claimed to discover beneath the waves would spark both fervent devotion and heated division. He spoke of coral-encrusted shapes, of structures with unnerving symmetry, and chariot wheels, not just one, but several, with 4, 6, and even 8 spokes, preserved in coral, yet unmistakable in form. He claimed to have seen axles, human bones, and horse remains, a battlefield sealed beneath salt and sea, a moment frozen in time. But in the absence of peer-reviewed studies, academic papers, or excavations, all there were photos, handwritten notes, blurry underwater footage, and passionate testimony.
It's an underwater, I believe you said this was
right,
human.
to the top left of the screen is a human rib cage. And there's some other bones there, like the cervical vertebrae of the spine and the back of the skull that...
Skeptics ridiculed him, governments denied permits to extract what might lay hidden, and archaeologists argued that coral could form any shape, especially in the mind of a believer. Yet the story refused to fade. For every critic, 10 others were inspired. Wyatt's accounts spread through church circles, prophecy books, and religious documentaries. To his followers, he wasn't just a man. He was a vessel, a witness, a voice crying out from the depths. Over the years, others followed in his wake. Independent researchers, pastors, divers armed with GoPros and prayer journals. Each time they plunged into the Gulf of Aqaba, they returned with more questions than answers, filled with awe. Perhaps Wyatt hadn't uncovered everything, but perhaps, just perhaps, he had uncovered something, a mystery entangled in coral. Why weren't Wyatt's findings ever brought to the surface? Why no museum exhibits? Why no tangible proof? According to Wyatt, the answer lay not only in science, but in the spiritual realm as well. First, the coral. The Red Sea is a thriving, living ecosystem. Over centuries, coral slowly encases submerged objects, preserving their shapes but not their material. What remains is a limestone-like shell, fragile to the touch. Attempting to remove it causes it to crumble. Imagine a ghostly outline of a wheel, preserved only because it has remained untouched by human hands. Second, the laws. Egypt's Antiquities Department is notoriously strict. Extracting artifacts, even suspected ones, from underwater sites is illegal without overwhelming proof and rigorous permits. Wyatt claimed to have been denied these permits on more than one occasion. Third, the golden wheel. Perhaps the most controversial part of his testimony, Wyatt spoke of discovering a wheel that shimmered with a golden hue, upright on the seabed. He reported it to the authorities, who allegedly took possession of it. Then, nothing. No photograph, no report, no confirmation, only an eerie silence. Critics labeled it convenient fiction, while believers called it tragic suppression. Was it truth, delusion, or something else? What's undeniable, however, is this. Wyatt sparked a fire that has burned ever since. His dives became the stuff of whispers in church basements and Bible study groups. Did you hear about the chariot wheels in the Red Sea? Could they be real? Now, decades later, a new team of divers returned to the exact coordinates Wyatt had given, armed with the technology he never had. What they found could either confirm or complicate Ron Wyatt's legacy forever. The modern-day discovery. The 2024 dive team didn't expect what they encountered. Not fully, at least. The seabed was eerily quiet. Sonar swept across the smooth terrain, interrupted only by occasional rock formations and vibrant coral gardens. But then something began to emerge, not on the surface, but within the patterns, the symmetry, the repetition, the geometry where it should not have been. Structures with circular forms, rough yet evenly spaced axle-like connectors between masses of coral. The deeper the drones ventured, the more the shapes seemed to repeat. And then came something entirely unexpected. A glint just beneath a veil of sediment. A faint flash of gold caught the light. Metallic, faded, possibly degraded, but unmistakable against the muted hues of the seabed. Divers descended, cameras rolling. What they recorded sent a shiver through the control room. Fragments of chariots, broken wooden spokes, long decayed, but outlined in coral, bronze-like fixtures, and what appeared to be human femurs and equine jawbones, fossilized and wrapped in sea growth. But it was the arrangement that left them speechless. The bodies, the wreckage. It was not random. It looked like chaos frozen in time, as if an entire line of soldiers, horses and wheels had been lifted, thrown, and dropped mid-charge. One diver called it a watery tomb, another a graveyard of war. The footage showed remains oriented in the same direction, as though all were fleeing or charging forward. Some fragments bore signs of violent impact, shattered axles, broken spokes, and contorted skeletal frames. Was this an ancient battle, or the collapse of an army swallowed by divine force? Scientists hesitate, but the shapes do not lie. The location aligns with scripture, and the discovery speaks volumes without uttering a single word. Public shock and suppression. The footage didn't remain hidden for long. Within weeks of the dive, snippets began to surface online. Grainy clips showing the coral-encrusted wheels, freeze frames captured by diver cams, and audio murmurs filled with excitement and disbelief. It all started in niche prophecy forums, then spread to TikTok, YouTube, and soon it exploded across the internet. Millions tuned in, comment sections lighting up with verses from Exodus. Theories poured in from all over the world. Was this the long-awaited proof? Had the Red Sea finally revealed its secrets? One commentator wrote, "This isn't just archaeology. This is judgment preserved in stone." News outlets rushed to cover it. Some cautiously labeled it a potential archaeological anomaly. Others mocked the findings outright. Late-night hosts jumped in, cracking jokes. Greg Gutfeld famously quipped, "I want a refund on my history textbook." But then, something strange happened. The videos began to vanish. Clips disappeared, accounts were suspended, and entire threads were wiped from forums overnight. Some attributed it to copyright enforcement, while others suggested it was a national security issue. But for many viewers, it felt like censorship, like someone didn't want the world to know what had been uncovered. Conspiracy theories surged. Was this a cover-up by academic elites, a media blackout orchestrated by secular governments, or merely a frantic reaction to unverified claims? Ironically, the suppression only heightened the discovery's mystique. People revisited Ron Wyatt's original footage, his grainy recordings now being analyzed with fresh eyes as the mystery continued to unfold. Debates ignited in university halls. Scholars who once dismissed the idea as mere fantasy were now reluctantly forced to reconsider. The ripple effect was undeniable. Faith communities worldwide were reignited with passion. Pastors delivered sermons on the Exodus with renewed urgency. Tensions and theories arose overnight. For many, this wasn't just a story anymore. It was a revelation, the revival of biblical archaeology. Take a step back, look beyond the Red Sea, and you'll notice a shift that has been quietly growing for years. From the snow-capped peaks of Mount Ararat to the rugged wilderness near Mount Sinai, a subtle renaissance is unfolding. Biblical archaeology, once relegated to the realm of speculation and irrelevance, is making a fierce return.
So there was a project recently finished in Sinai, and James Hoffmeyer published some articles on this that has to do with the geography of the Exodus that I think is extremely helpful in showing us where some of these things happened and also at least the general time period in Egyptian history. There are also recent excavations at the site of Tel Retaba, which I think is the site of Pithom, which is...
The exciting thing about this research is that there is a scientific basis for this 3,000-year-old story.
New tools are changing the game. Drones now map terrains once thought impassable. Our eye scans countless ancient texts for hidden references. LiDAR cuts through dense jungle canopies. High-resolution sonar reveals what the naked eye could never see. These technologies, paired with satellite imagery and digital modeling, are unveiling anomalies that defy conventional explanation. And it's not just about chariots anymore. Whispers are growing louder about the Ark of the Covenant, with its last rumored location traced to deep vaults beneath Ethiopia.
Okay, so point A, in the pre-Exodus era, we have evidence for Semites, non-Egyptians from Canaan in the area. And then as we get to the period of the Exodus, dating at least around that time, we have evidence of Hebrew names and being kept as slaves.
The Dead Sea Scrolls continue to yield new fragments, challenging long-established historical timelines. Excavations near ancient Jericho suggest sudden collapses, walls that fell violently, not from natural erosion. It's not that these truths were never there, it's that we're finally looking with open minds and cutting-edge technology. What's more, the movement isn't just led by scholars anymore. It's driven by believers, explorers, technologists, ordinary people with extraordinary curiosity. People asking, what if the Bible wasn't allegorical, but historical? The lines between faith and science are beginning to blur. The divide isn't as wide as it once seemed. Because truth doesn't care where it comes from. Implications. What else lies beneath? The world now stands at a crossroads. If this discovery is true, if those coral formations are what they appear to be, then what else have we overlooked? What lies hidden beneath the oceans, deserts, and mountains? Could the great miracles we've read about not be poetic allegory, but historical record? What about the plagues of Egypt, the manna in the wilderness, the sun standing still at Jericho? What if the timeline of human history isn't incomplete? but misaligned. For centuries, science and faith have been painted as opposites, locked in an eternal tug-of-war. But what if they're not enemies, but partners? Two lenses viewing the same reality from different perspectives. The chariot wheels may never sit in a museum case. They may crumble before they can even be touched. But that doesn't make them meaningless. It makes them sacred. Because sometimes the greatest artifacts aren't the ones we can hold, but the ones that make us think, question, and believe again. This isn't just about archaeology. It's about how we view the past and understand ourselves. In the end, the story is more than just saltwater and coral. It's prophecy, it's memory, it's the convergence of ancient scripture and modern discovery. If Pharaoh's wheels truly rest at the bottom of the Red Sea, then this isn't just a footnote in a textbook. It's a divine echo, a thunderous clap from history, declaring, what was written may indeed have been real. And so, we leave you with this question. If the Red Sea holds truth, what other miracles might be real? Was the burning bush more than myth? Did fire truly fall on Mount Carmel? Did a stone really strike down a giant? History is whispering. Are we ready to listen? Let us know what you think. Drop your thoughts, your questions, your wonder in the comments below. And remember, this may be just the beginning, because the past isn't dead. It's not even buried. It's waiting to be rediscovered.